sweet science, audio podcasting,
The sweetest science of all.
as opposed to other kind of podcasting.
Sour science.
Oh no. That's how they made Sour Patch Kids, and also how Chernobyl exploded. Hey everyone, welcome back to Lost the Script. We are the world's premier movie guesstimating podcast. We take the image of a poster for a movie that we have not yet seen, and we sculpt our optimal narrative around that poster. Later on in the podcast, we review the film after we observe it, and we give our highly sought after feedback and lament the fact that we probably came up with something much cooler, dope, fresh, sick, rad, deadly? Yeah. I'm one of your co-hosts, Chris Coble.
And I am the Ginger Rogers to his Fred Astaire, Kian Hagstrom.
Tap dancing our way right off a comedy cliff.
Don't you know it? Buffalo shuffling my way across the stage.
I ran out of tap dance moves that I know. Party bourraying till we're party in Spain.
Partying in Blu-ray.
Now available in HD.
Now
How are you doing this week?
I'm doing fantastic. Very, very busy, but this is both work and pleasure. They say not to mix the two, but I don't know any other way. When your business is pleasure, it's just a
Nightmare.
the nightmare.
Have you ever had a stress dream that you can't wake up for?
I was stress dreaming writing the first episode of the Dungeons and Dragons podcast that we're doing today.
As soon as we're going to ask you a question you're not prepared for, I'm expecting you to just fully melt down.
Just start pulling out my hair.
I didn't sleep very well last night because I slept in a Walmart parking lot on the way to this hotel right now. I don't know if you can tell at home. Well, I do know that you can definitely tell at home that my audio quality is not super slick. And that's because I'm a road dog. I'm on the road. Ow!
Oh yeah, the Ramblin' Man.
And until I get more monies to buy a better road rig, this is just kind of the road rig Randy's running.
The Road to Revolution recording rotundness.
Revolutionary Road really runs rampant, right?
Right.
Ruh-roh.
A requisite?
It's a really easy game to play if you're Scooby-Doo. Oh, we have a new, well, I guess it's not a new email. I've been mentioning it in the interim of the podcasts, which have been in the past weeks now. It's really hard to record things in present day and then also in the past and the future. I'm kind of like the Dr. Manhattan of podcast producers.
Plus, I just am a blue naked person when it happens.
I am always naked also, as you can see.
I think it comes through in the audio. There's a certain cocksureness that comes to...
Craziest thing is when I have clothes on. I'm actually British.
When I have clothes on, I just feel naked.
Strange. Okay, so do you want to introduce the movie that we're doing this week?
Absolutely I do. This week marks the first of our trilogy of Nic Cage movies that we'll be doing. We are going to start off with none other than The Army of One with Nic Cage and Russell Brand.
Who can forget? Who can remember?
Certainly not us, because I haven't seen the movie, and neither of you.
I haven't heard of it, so here we
How
are.
could I ever forget the poster that I'm looking at right now? If you could go ahead and give us a description of that.
I would love to. I'm more obligated than would love to.
I have to.
That's what I'm getting paid for, isn't it? Day in, day out of this bullshit. I think this might be a monumentous occasion also to mention that this might be the first time I've ever seen critics and audience agree with a score entirely, where they are both sitting at 25%.
That's wonderful. You know, I think that really says a lot about where the world is heading, or at least where it was heading in 2016.
And we got there. Look at us now.
Here we are. I think that we can attribute most of the cultural awareness that we have now in 2020 to things that were happening and were put into motion in 2016.
Specifically this Nicolas Cage movie.
Exactly. It all has to do with cinema and not an election.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We've chosen in 2020 to forget that. We've omitted the whole experience.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, if a good movie is $1, then this movie would get you 15 minutes at a parking meter. Let me describe this poster for you because that is what I am wont to do every now and again. Army of One. In the forefront, Nicolas Cage is standing there with a shit-eating grin, like I'm not supposed to recognize that is Nicolas Cage. He's got a khaki vest on, he's got khaki pants, he's got an American belt buckle, and a shirt that is a couple buttons down, also khaki colored. He is a very Colonel Mustard looking man here. He is standing with a donkey. The donkey has a blanket on him. Donkeys get cold, I guess, because I always always see that.
They always have blankets on them.
They do.
Donkeys are just cold horses.
They're just cold, smaller horses. That's because they don't have as many horsepowers as a horse does.
That's true.
Their little hearts can only give them half the blood.
That's where the phrase freezing my ass off came from.
Wow. I gotta pause for a minute to really soak in what you've done.
Can you believe we don't write this beforehand?
I can, most often, but
It feels as though it's come from years of meditation.
you can tell that it's not written beforehand because when you do a really good one, I am almost thrown out of my seat. So Nic Cage is very the dude.
It's like if the dude from Big Lebowski and Indiana Jones were the same person.
And then drowned and was found in a river. Not doing great.
Yeah, I don't know about the rest of him, but his face just seems to be getting a little bit wider with every movie poster I see him in chronological order.
You know exactly what it is, and I'm glad that we evoked the Big Lebowski because he is slowly turning into John Goodman's character from the Big Lebowski.
You're right. It's the vest.
He's got the same belt buckle, I'm sure. I never saw Walter with it, but I guarantee his character owned one of those. If the dude and Walter from the Big Lebowski had a child together,
Oh, yeah.
that is actually spot on.
That's brilliant.
Thank you. Can you believe that we don't write this beforehand?
I don't believe you.
Oh.
I wrote all of my stuff.
Oh, shit. I am just terrible at this. Oh, yeah. He's also got a katana.
Yeah, of course.
He's an army of one. We've already discussed this. Get over it. He's standing directly in front of a very Christ-like, it looks like it's on an adobe wall. Like, you see those prayer candles.
Yeah.
On this wall is a very saint-like portrait of Russell Brand.
Which, I don't know if it's Russell Brand's defense necessarily, but a lot of Russell Brand imagery when he's not leather is Christ-like. Including the comedy special he did, The Second Coming, where he did the whole Christ thing.
Yes. I don't think that's to his defense also. Right?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I don't know what you'd be defending him from. It's just a brand. A Russell Brand.
A Russell Brand. Who saw that one coming?
I'm on fucking fire today.
I think it's the headset. It's holding me back, man. It doesn't let me do all my moves that I usually do.
Right. I like playing the mic. And coffee adds to it. That's why the comedians in cars are always getting coffee. Because otherwise they can't be funny.
Isn't it a good thing that Billy Joel doesn't host that show? Because then it would be comedians in cars getting killed. There we go. I'm already on it. All right.
Here we go.
Now we're really cooking with fire. Okay. Back to the poster.
It's kind of funny. It looks like from the movie poster that the picture of Russell Brand is just like a tourist location, and like the donkey is something you take a picture with in front of the Russell Brand painting, and Nic Cage is just like a super happy single dad.
A mall ninja.
He's a huge Russell Brand fan.
Judging by the 25% Rotten Tomato score, I'm going to assume that no one was excited about having Nicolas Cage on the location, but
They wouldn't even have the real Russell Brand in the poster. It's a painting of him in the background.
God, do you think that this is all done like post? Do you think this is like a Ed Wood sort of scenario where they just filmed Bela Lugosi outside his house?
It's just all really bad green screen and Nic Cage just like walking around in the foreground.
It's just someone that looks strikingly like Russell Brand. God, I forgot his name also. Almost said Sacha Baron Cohen because above the title of Army of One, it also gives us a little mention that it might or might not have been done by the director of Borat, Larry Charles.
Is this a comedy?
Yeah, I mean, it's Nicolas Cage, so if it's not a comedy, then it's gonna be one.
It's gonna be hilarious.
It'll evoke one of two things, anger or lust.
Or lust.
The Cage match always gets me going, you know?
Yeah, he is smiling with a donkey. Oh my god, it says it's listed under biography and comedy.
Okay, so this is a biography about who? Do you think he's maybe a time traveler that goes back to the days of Jesus Christ? To kill him? To kill him?
To kill Jesus Christ.
Or no, to save him. That makes more sense. Because he does get killed in the long run. He wouldn't have to do anything if he's gonna just kill Jesus.
Little do we know that Pontius Pilate was actually born in Brooklyn. It just goes back in time.
That sounds like a good plot.
He's Pontius Pilate who comes back in time to be Pontius Pilate. He's only ever read about himself in the past because of the Bible.
So he knows what he has to do. He's got instructions, essentially.
He's a big fan of Christianity, though, so he's, like, happy to do this whole Pontius Pilate thing, which is why he just goes through all of the things that happen with the Passion of the Christ. But he's just like, it's gonna be great.
Now, before we move any further, for folks that don't know what Pontius Pilate does, what is Pontius? What was he? What does he do?
So Pontius Pilate, he's what, like a senate? He's not a senator.
Where does he work?
Pontius Pilate works in...
Retail.
Hold on, I'm actually gonna look up what the fuck he was.
I don't know if you were thrown off by my slide dodge, but I don't have any idea who he is.
Pontius Pilate was a governor, and he is the one, when they jailed Jesus and people either wanted him killed or let free, he let the people decide whether they wanted to put Jesus on the cross and let this horrible murderer free, or I think vice versa. And they ended up letting a serial killer go and then hanging Jesus Christ after whipping him.
My good buddy and close personal hero, Mel Gibson, has painted that picture very beautifully for me.
Pontius Pilate was the governor in Judea.
So he doesn't save Jesus, so this can't be him.
No, okay, well, no, Pontius Pilate, he's essentially the person who gives it up to the crowd, and he's just like, do you guys want to kill Jesus and let this murderer go? And then they say, yeah, we want to kill Jesus. And he famously he washes his hands, and he's just like, this is on you, idiots.
Okay, but does that seem like a man that travels back in time to save Jesus' life with a katana?
No, but it was worth looking into.
In the Bible, for all you heathens out there, like myself, that don't know what happened to Mr. Pilate, if you will, what happened to him after the events transpired? Did he just dip from the book?
I think he gets mentioned in like the honorary section of the Bible, like in loving memory of
special thanks.
Special thanks to Pontius Pilate.
We couldn't have done this shit without you.
Don't worry, we'll mention the part where you don't take any of the blame.
He doesn't die in the Bible, though, right? We don't know how he dies.
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of fan fiction, but it doesn't.
Perfect, because this is our new fan fiction. So, Pontius Pilate is racked with grief that he let Jesus die. He slinks off like an apathetic teenager into the desert. He has some sort of religious experience, and he's like, I need to fix this. And as he's going back into town, after he makes his decision that he's washing his hands of this...
I'll just throw it out to the crowd. That sounds like good governing. I'm a man of the people, if nothing else.
I can't really disagree with that, but at the same time, I don't know about this situation entirely. As he's walking there, a burning bush, I don't know, teleports him to New York in 2014.
It's set in modern times.
And it says, you have 2 years to train your body and come back to this moment to save Jesus Christ.
And Jesus Christ is being played by Russell Brand, yeah?
Naturally.
We can't really take that away from him.
No, he's kind of worked his whole career to get that comparison made.
I like the idea that Jesus Christ is also teleported to modern times. So they're both in New York. They're both just walking around New York.
So wait a minute. So Jesus is saved now?
Pontius Pilate spends all of his time in New York trying to find a way to save Jesus, but Jesus eventually teaches him that he has to die. If we hadn't have done this, we wouldn't have all this cool... There's an M&M store. He has a full hero's journey. Hero in big quotation marks.
Yeah. He learns that the greatest heroes are sometimes the ones that don't do fucking anything.
Sometimes the indifference of good men is evil and good.
Sometimes the indifference of good men is good, man.
That's our secret log line.
That's good because this movie does not have a log line.
The indifference of good, comma, man.
That's good. So, that's our opening crawl. There's no, voiceover explanation of what's going on. We just see brief glimpses of it. We see Pontius Pilate. He's like, I'm washing my hands of this. He dips. He's like, that's not right. I need to go back. He starts walking back. Burning bush ignites, engulfs him in flames. He wakes up in an alley in New York, and it says, you have 2 years to correct your mistakes. He's being peed on by a bum. This is a comedy.
Right.
Keep it light.
Let's see. Who do we have to work with this cast? Let me see who we can drag into this.
Throw some of these jabronis at me.
We've got Will Sasso.
Oh, shit. He's going to be his boxing trainer.
Apologies to Paul Scheer, but I think Paul Scheer has to be the homeless guy who shows him about town.
After he gives him a golden shower.
He's like, welcome to New York.
Can we introduce that line into every single one?
Yeah, every single movie.
He's giving him the tour. He shows him, the Statue of Liberty, They go see the bull on Wall Street. They go get a bagel at that one famous place. I've been to New York once or twice. I get it.
What time of year is it? Is it like
Christmas time.
it's Christmas time, so they can do the whole Rockefeller Center. We get our elf imagery in there. Oh, plus it's Christmas. That's like Jesus.
That was the main thing, but, but I'm glad that you focused on the
Because I love elf.
So he's a little confused, obviously. He's like, what's this all about? And they're like, oh, this celebrates the birth of our Lord and Savior. And then he holds up a picture of Russell Brand, and he's like, it's this guy. And he's like, oh,
I know him.
I know him. Paul Scheer's just like, what? What do you mean? Oh, you're crazy, man. Me too.
I get it, man.
We have crippling mental problems and not an institution to support us and get us off of the street. I hear you, bud.
And Nic Cage looks directly into the camera and goes, some things never change. I think that Will Sasso plays the tough cop they run into while they're looking around New York. Don't you know the true meaning of Christmas? Because that's what cops do.
I've seen a Turner Family Network show before. Thank you very much. I know what cops do.
And no one better than Will Sasso to do it.
He's like, I'll show you the true meaning of Christmas. It's self-defense. And he's like, do you have a place to stay? I'll teach you how to fight.
Yes.
And he brings him to his home and introduces him to his family, where he has a home dojo.
I almost wanted to make it like a Nacho Libre thing where he teaches him to be a luchador.
He's got a katana. We can't mix cultures that much.
I think that that's what's bringing everyone together is the number of cultures we assimilate.
That's New York, man. It's a melting pot. I guess you're right.
Spoiler alerts, that's how we get Jesus and Pontius Pilate to come together. They go head-to-head in the Luchador Grand Championship in New York at Madison Square Garden. Will Sasso is going to be the one who's training Nic Cage. And then we also have Dennis O'Hare at our disposal, and he's going to be who's training up Jesus Christ.
So halfway through the first act, we snap over to Jesus. Where does he wake up? It's got to be somewhere wacky. This is a comedy.
I like for Jesus to come to like in the middle of Times Square with all the
fake Jesuses.
There's just a bunch of like fake Jesuses and stuff there.
He starts proselytizing to them, and people keep on giving him money, and he's like, hell yeah.
Then we do a bunch of shots where they're just like they're coming so close, and him and Pontius Pilate are just barely missing each other like ships in the night throughout all of their sightseeing in New York.
We get the really fun scene of Jesus trying to guide sinners, and he's standing outside of a McDonald's, and he goes in and he gets a Big Mac, and he's like, this isn't so bad.
They have a whole thing where Jesus goes into the Disney store and
he bursts into flames. Walt Disney's statue animates and looks at him and says, you have no power here.
Walt Disney, played by Rainn Wilson.
Did Walt Disney get transported in time too? Oh, he's their enemy. Perfect.
We've got it.
Walt Disney sees Jesus Christ. He's like, I'll be your mentor. And he starts teaching him about corporate greed and trying to corrupt Jesus.
We have Walt Disney try and like brainwash Jesus into believing that Walt Disney wrote the Bible so that he can get the rights to all of the iconography and so they can sell Christianity as a Disney film.
The burning bush transported them all here to learn some sort of overarching message. Walt Disney is like, we have to train you to fight because
there are going to be people who come here from the past trying to tell you that you're the son of God, but I made you up. I'm your father. Walt Disney is Jesus's dad.
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Mouse.
Yes.
Act 2, we start. It's middle of training season. They're getting buff as hell. They're duking it out. I have how these two worlds collide, though. Will Sasso, apart from being a cop and also a personal trainer of Pontius Pilate, in his spare time, he loves to write children's Christmas stories, okay? Mm-hmm. And so Will Sasso goes to a major book distributor to try to distribute a Christmas story. When he gets there, they tell him, you can't publish this book anymore because Walt Disney, he's trying to buy the rights, so we can't do that.
Oh, we can't greenlight it.
We can't greenlight that yet because Walt Disney is going to buy Christmas.
I love it.
I don't know why this turned into a Christmas movie of all things, but well, because Jesus himself is in there, and that's the reason for the season, right?
Yeah, because Jesus is in it.
You're right. Walt Disney is also training Jesus to fight personally, right?
Yeah, he's definitely there.
Right.
He's doing a lot of the promoting and stuff. He's like on the phone with people, but he's also in the gym, wandering around in the background. He's doing all the walk and talks and
Keep
stuff.
your arms up!
He's there for all like the press junkets and everything.
So Will Sasso storms over to the Disney store to confront Walt Disney, because it's just public public knowledge that he was transported from the past into the future. We don't get hung up on that at all.
No. You can't put too much thought into this bullshit or we'll get bogged down.
Clearly. He storms into the store and he confronts Walt Disney, and Walt's just like, well, I am the creator of... Why do I make him a Southern gentleman?
I love it.
I'm going to go with it. So he's like, well, I am the creator of the Christmas story. This right here is my son, who I based all my stories on. And Jesus is there, and he's confused, and he's like, what's up?
Hey, what's up, man?
Will Sasso says, I know 3 things. I know being a cop, I know Christmas stories, and I know wrestling. And I have a wrestler at my dojo that can take your best wrestler at your dojo, and we will fight for the rights of publishing Christmas stories.
I love that so much. They're wrestling for Christmas.
Wrestling for Christmas. And Walt Disney says, well, my boy here, and he slaps Jesus' back, he says, he may go down, but he will always rise again. So they set the date, Madison Square Garden, June 15th, doors at 7. Fight.
June 15th?
It's Christmas. I forgot. Okay, so they set the date, Christmas Eve, December 24th.
Oh, yeah, December 24th.
Doors at 7,
Bingo.
Fight at 9, 21 plus. Tickets are $12 advance, $15 door. Pretty cheap.
Jesus has the up on the Vegas thing. It's like 20-1 odds.
Yeah, because Jesus is, I mean, I'm sure you've seen paintings in Catholic Church.
Yeah, he's shredded, dude.
I don't know why he couldn't have just done a crunch and just snap that cross in half. It's all in the core.
That's how he enters the ring, is they bring him in on
just doing crunches.
doing leg lifts.
So after the fight is declared, that's the beginning of Act 3, I would assume, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We gotta mention that he's an army of one, right? We've been neglecting Nic Cage, Pontius Pilate, our hero.
Unfortunately. I
And
like that he's
he's
the hero in a story about Jesus also.
Yeah. Well, what's Jesus without the death, you know? It's like, who gives a shit?
It's just a guy that can do magic tricks, I don't know.
Oh, blasphemy.
Delightful.
So, right before the big fight, we find out that Will Sasso has been murdered by Walt Disney.
Love it.
As he's dying and Nic Cage is holding him in his arms, he goes, "You're an army of one now." And that's just how we justify the title. We didn't need anything else. We just needed him to be able to know he is an army of one. We're 3 rounds into the fight.
Can we describe their intros real quick a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's doing crunches on the cross, brought out. What's his song?
Jesus, take the wheel.
Ooh, that's a good one. Poncho is brought out. He's just got a standard, like, ninja sort of. He bought a sword at a mall a couple months back.
That was like, they went to Chinatown, and he was just like, oh, sweet. And he'd never seen anything like it.
He comes out to Panic at the Disco's High Hopes.
Yes. Wait, it's 2016. Did that?
And it's 2014 also. Oh, wait, he had 2 years. Yeah, this has been happening over the
It's
course
been
of 2
happening
years.
over 2 years.
Let me look up. Good song 2016.
Good song, 2016. It's Katy Perry's Firework.
Pilot is more on the pulse of America, so he would have one that came out in 2016 exactly. So I want to really nail this one.
Okay.
Oh, here's the Billboard one. There's a yuck.
Not a good year.
Well, I mean, my opinions are invalid because I never think it's a good year. God damn it, I can't choose one. Here's what I'm gonna do. Pilot has a choice of 2 songs from 2016. He's either gonna come out to Stressed Out by 21 Pilots, because he wants to go back to the good old days, obviously.
Of course.
Or Hello by Adele. Which is a wild choice inherently for a fight song to come out to, but it's got its charms.
I like the Adele. I like him coming out the opposite of what Jesus comes out to. It just like completely takes away all the energy from the crowd.
Everyone's pretty bummed out as soon as Pilot starts walking out. Got a very somber walk to the stadium. Okay, continue. I'm sorry. I
like to think that Paul Scheer is the one who picked the song. He's just really into it.
Oh, yeah.
And like Pontius Pilate doesn't really care either way, but like Paul Scheer's character is just like, trust me, people love this song.
Oh, this is a comedy. Right.
So what happens is they go for 3 rounds. It's really close. If anything, it looks like Jesus has the upper hand. He's kind of putting the whooping on Pontius Pilate as we come to the end of the 10th round. That's when we find out Will Sasso has been murdered. Paul Scheer tells Pontius Pilate while he's in the corner. And what happens is he's holding Will Sasso in his arms as Will Sasso says, "You're an army of one now." And Paul Scheer takes that in stride. He doesn't really care. But as Pontius Pilate returns to the ring, he's got Will Sasso's blood on his hands, and he's like, oh, you can't wrestle like that. So they bring up a pitcher of water, and he washes his hands in the water to get the blood off, and that triggers Jesus Christ's memory of what happened in the past. So he remembers who he is and that Disney didn't create him. Then he throws the fight at the end so that, I guess, since Will Sasso was fighting for the rights, they give the rights to Paul Scheer's character, and he changes his life around to become the famous Christmas story writer, and they go back and murder Jesus as best friends, he and Pontius Pilate.
Okay, so let me unwrap some of the things that you said.
Yeah, we gotta unpack. There's a lot of stuff that happens.
Number one, Paul Scheer is the one that discovers the body.
Yeah.
Okay, he was there at the fight, chose the song, then went out for a smoke break where Will Sasso was walking in because he's late, because he's also a cop and he got off late on his shift. And there's a drive-by shooting, and they're all wearing Mickey hats, obviously.
Of course.
Single shot to the neck. Will Sasso is bleeding out.
Paul Scheer drags him into Madison Square Garden.
The usher immediately is like, no, out.
Nope. They're like, the only person who can save Will Sasso's life is Jesus Christ because he can heal him. Mm-hmm. But since he doesn't remember he's Jesus, he refuses, and he dies in Pontius Pilate's hands.
Well, they just say that like the only person that could save you is Jesus, but he was made up by Disney, so...
Yeah, so it's kind of like a joke, they're saying. They're
yeah.
Like, yeah. Only Jesus could save you.
Right.
It's like, only Donald Duck can help you now.
In Kingdom Hearts is bullshit, because he never heals anyways. I mean, you can set him to only team heal and not ever heal himself, and that's totally fine, but then he just fucking dies on you. Anyways.
Jesus is going to be in the next Kingdom Hearts.
Maybe it'll make it better than Kingdom Hearts 3, but don't get me started. Anyways. Does Pilate know who Jesus is then?
Yeah, he's trying to get Jesus to remember.
Okay, so during the fight, grappling together, and he's like, Jesus, man.
Like, remember who you are. Jesus, man. God damn.
Fight's over. Jesus throws the fight. It's a big upset. Will Sasso, before he died, put an enormous bet on Pilate. And all of the money goes to Paul Scheer because he is next of line. He's also his son. We didn't mention that. So that turns out really well for him. Yeah. Then the 2 years are up, and Jesus and Pilate, they're walking around the streets of New York. And Pilate's like, I feel like I've learned a lot this year. We had a wrestling match that was cool. How'd you do? And Jesus is like, I did pretty well. And I learned that I must die. Pilate's like, no, you can't die. And he's like, you must, my son. So then they go back.
Real quick.
Yes, yeah.
We've also been neglecting the donkey that's on the poster. So what I want to do is, after Pontius Pilate wins the competition and the rights are taken from Disney, Jesus turns Walt Disney into a donkey.
Bingo.
And sends him back in time with them.
Thank you for wrapping that loose end up.
Gotta happen.
And the donkey from the past ruins the Star Wars universe.
Right.
I'm just kidding, it's not that bad. Jesus is like, you must go back and be apathetic as you were before. And he's like,
just make sure to wash your hands, man.
Cleanliness is next to godliness, he says, and they both share a laugh.
Boom.
Then the burning bush sends them back in time.
Then we do the scene where Pontius Pilate washes his hands, but right at the very end, he looks back at Jesus as they're dragging him off, and they share a wink.
He walks into the sunset, and title card.
Yeah. All the credits are playing over the screams of Jesus Christ.
That is horrifying.
I'm pretty sure that in most depictions, Jesus isn't screaming. But in this one, it's a comedy.
Yikes. That's very funny. It's very funny that you made his torturous screams in canon.
Yeah.
The credits roll. The credits are rolling. The credits still rolling.
Roll.
In the credit.
Yeah, you think they're over, but then they get to like the key grip, the best boy.
A lot of people
special
worked on
thanks,
this one.
All of the songs that played during the duration of the movie.
Hello by Adele, and there was also
Call Me Maybe.
What was Jesus' fight?
I already forgot.
Let's retcon that it was Call Me Maybe, because that was definitely out in 2016.
Awesome.
Credits take a really long time because I didn't look at the budget of this, but I'm pretty sure the budget was close to like $40 trillion. So the credits have rolled. There's a slow fade up to an alley in New York City as we see a man stumble to his feet. Give me someone real small. Woody Allen. He's Woody Allen.
Woody Allen.
So, as he turns to face the camera, we see Woody Allen. He, as we've seen in the flashback before, was Judas. And he's looking around the streets of New York, and he's like, wow, what's going on here? From the shadows, a man leaps and punches him in the sternum and says, welcome to New York.
This time, let's have it be a lady. That's when we introduce Wendy, who we, as chauvinist males, have omitted entirely from this film.
Whoops, sorry. We did include Adele, though, and Carly Rae Jepsen, so I think we added in more women.
Here's what we do. Just to appease everybody, Wendy McClendon Covey, she plays the president.
Here's a couple of facts I have from this movie. One fact. According to Nicolas Cage, director Larry Charles didn't get a final cut. Fact number 2, according to Nicolas Cage, the movie could have been far better if the director Larry Charles got a final cut. Fact number 3, in an interview with the New York Times, Nicolas Cage described the movie as disappointing and said that director Larry Charles didn't get a final cut.
All right, Nic Cage.